We previewed the new audio on its own against picture, and we're satisfied with the sync, so there's no reason to keep the guide track around any longer. Let's start by clicking the A1 visibility control to re-enable it. If we click on it to select it, the linked video track is selected as well, and if we hit delete, we lose both. So let's undo that. In order to delete just the audio track, we have to break the link between audio and video that were captured together. There are several ways to do this. The simplest is to hold the Option key before selecting the item. This temporarily turns linked selection off. This means the items remain linked, but you can select one of them individually. You can also turn off linked selection with this button in the timeline, or toggle it on and off with the shortcut Shift-L. When link selection is turned back on by either of these means, the items are still linked. Or you can break the link between items entirely by selecting them and hitting Command-L. The items are now independent of each other and can be moved separately. Even though unlinked, Final Cut remains aware that these two items were captured together, and that a special sync relationship exists between them. So you see the red out-of-sync indicators displaying the number of frames they are from each other. To put two items back in sync, Control-click the red box and select Move into Sync. You can re-establish a link by selecting both items and hitting Command-L again, or by going to the Modify menu and selecting Link. And the items don't have to have been captured together. You can establish your own links between audio and video tracks. Perhaps you wanted to use picture from camera A and sound from camera B, or you recorded audio on a separate DAT track, or maybe you took a video track with dialogue and added effects, Foley, and music, and you don't want them to inadvertently lose sync. A single video item can have up to 24 items linked to it. Hit Command-A to select all tracks, then hit Command-L. All three audio tracks are now linked to the video track. They can be selected, moved, and trimmed as one. And if you double-click the clip in the timeline, each of the audio items has a tab in the viewer. Click back into the timeline and reselect. Hit Command-L once to unlink both audio clips from the video. They can now be moved and selected independently. Finally, note the double set of facing arrows in our studio track. This indicates a stereo pair. This is a special kind of link and requires its own command to break or create. Select the stereo track and hit Option-L and deselect. The tracks can now be moved like independent mono tracks. Note that the out-of-sync indicators don't appear. They only apply to audio and video links. Now select the audio tracks on A1 and A2 and hit Option-L. The double-facing arrows indicate a stereo pair, and if you double-click on it, we see an unusual pairing of waveforms in the browser, the guide track above and half the studio track below. Hit Command-Z to undo. Line up the studio tracks, select them both, and hit Option-L to relink them. Finally, select the guide track on A1 and hit Delete. Select the studio track and hit Option-Up arrow to move it up one track. Now, shift-click the video track to add it to your selection, and hit Command-L to link audio and video together to preserve sync.